Today I have the 5 biggest typography mistakes that people make when choosing fonts for their graphic designs. So watch today's Satori Graphics video on typography tips and 5 typography mistakes that you don't want to make. What is up people, welcome back to Satori Graphics, the home of graphic design content right here on YouTube. So today I have 5 typography mistakes that you want to avoid when you're choosing fonts for your graphic designs. The first typography mistake that people tend to make is choosing too many fonts. This is quite a common mistake among novice graphic designers, and you see beginners doing this all of the time. Now there are certain situations where using quite a few fonts in one design is actually necessary, or it does look good, but those are rare exceptions. For example, vintage style typography art quite often uses various different fonts, but the general rule of thumb is to keep your fonts to 2 or 3 per design. This is because fonts each have their own style and they each communicate something visually and not just by the words that they spell out. Imagine a room of people all talking and shouting at the same time. That's how a viewer feels when you look at a design with too many fonts on it. It becomes confusing and cluttered. The next typography mistake that people tend to make is not taking into account the legibility, i.e. how readable is the design. When you're using typography in a design, you want people to be able to read what you're writing, because that's the main purpose of a font, to express something with written language. Often, designers get carried away with their design, and they don't focus on the typography itself, just how it looks. So when you place your fonts over your design, make sure it's legible. But there are a few things you need to keep in mind here when regarding legibility. One of those things is called kerning and tracking. Now kerning is the space between each individual letter on your typography. Tracking is the space between letters over a group of lettering as a whole. If your kerning is too close together, it's not going to be that legible. And similarly, if it's too wide, in most situations for a main body of text, wide kerning doesn't look visually appealing, and again it becomes confusing. Another typography term you want to keep in mind when legibility is concerned is X height. Now this is the measurement from the baseline of the type up to the mean line. If this is too short or too tall, it can become confusing and also renders the typography not readable. So yeah, make sure your typography is legible when you're designing your graphic designs. The third typography mistake that people tend to make is not pairing or matching the font to the brand or the graphic design itself. So for example, if you're going to be designing a logo for a funeral agency, you're not going to be using Comic Sans or like a really friendly lowercase font. You're going to be using something serious and strong. Each font connotes a certain feeling in the way it appears and the style it has. You need to be aware of this, and you need to match the style of the font to the style of the brand or the graphic design. This can take quite a bit of time for you to get used to and to know what works and what doesn't work. But soon it will start to click in place and you will have a good understanding of what you're doing. The fourth typography mistake that people tend to make is for some reason they use one text box for the entire design. Don't limit yourself to one text box when you're designing your typography on your graphic designs. Use various different text boxes so you can play around with layouts and formations of your typography. This will give you a lot of room for manipulation and style of your typography designs. The last typography tip for avoiding typography mistakes in your graphic designs is not focusing on hierarchy. This is one of the most important things when it comes to typography design in your graphic designs. It basically alludes to having context between larger typefaces and smaller typefaces. Basically, you're drawing the attention of the reader or the viewer to specific places in your design. This is important because people have short attention spans. If you're trying to sell something or you have something very important to say, you'd make that more important and more prominent by putting the weight of the text right up. As you can see on screen, hierarchy is very important and it also makes the text visually appealing in your graphic designs. So there are my 5 typography tips that people tend to make in their graphic design work. I hope you enjoyed today's typography tips video, and if you did, leave a like and also drop a comment in the comment section below. Remember to subscribe to Satori Graphics for weekly graphic design content just like this one. Also, give my content a share on social media if you think somebody else wants to see this video. And until next time, design your future today. Peace.